like to welcome Ellin Sidell to Her-Tastic Journey. Ellin and I met, oh my gosh, over a year ago now, and we've kept in touch. We were in a business development journey together for a whole year. So I do appreciate that we have stayed in touch. And I also appreciate that your willingness to come on to Her-Tastic Journey, since this is just a out of the blue podcast. And how I like to kick things off is really what was your journey and inspiration? What inspired you to start your own business? And can you share your journey from your initial idea to where you are now?
Sure, I'm happy to. And I agree, it's been fun keeping in touch. So I've had a multi-decade career in Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. And in my last gig, and that was at Costco and at headquarters in the Seattle area, I was in IT supporting supply chain. And so IT and supply chain was kind of my big background. And having just left Microsoft, I had I'm a little bit of a workhorse. I can handle a really big workload. And, I was new. They're trying to figure out how to transform their IT systems. And I had time on my hands. And so I jumped into a mentorship program. And everybody in leadership at Costco was saying, "Isn't this great? You're meeting your peers." And the program was fantastic. It was really great. It was 9 months. There were 30 of us, so it was very, select. We would go to conference rooms. We'd hear from multi-decade, senior leaders at Costco and learn all the really great culture and stories. But I wasn't meeting my peers. And so
Oh,
I mentioned to the leader, well, I ended up getting paired with a one-on-one coaching or one-on-one mentor myself. And I mentioned to her that I knew exactly what format would work. And I called it a leverage mentorship program, but it was mentor circles. And I had been a co-mentor in one at Microsoft. And she was super intrigued. So she became kind of an internal sponsor for me because at the end of that program, I was supposed to pitch an idea to help Costco. And I pitched what we called mentee rings. But I'm like a dog with a bone, and I kept bumping into, not only my mentor, but the ultimate leader of the kind of leadership development group. And I tease people, it's not the elevator speech, it's the salad bar line, because Sue McConaughey, she's now retired, but she became my ultimate sponsor. And if anybody loves Costco like I do, obviously I work there, but the gal that set up the original bakery was a baker, and it's her recipe that's in every really delicious, yummy pumpkin pie.
oh wow. Is her name Elsa?
No, her name is Sue McConaughey.
Oh, okay.
And so I bumped into her and said, "Don't you want to say yes to the 30 or 40 people that aren't getting into the 30-person program? Because I will run a pilot. I will do all the hefty lifting." She goes, "Okay, Ellen, you could do your pilot." And what ended up happening is I teased that I was the mother of mentee rings, but I founded with her sponsorship. I ran the program. We had amazing volunteers, so I was not alone, but I was a good internal salesperson because other people, including over 40 senior people in the company, volunteered over 5 years that I ran the program to, really teach the culture and be a mentor in this circle format, which highly leveraged, right? These senior people are very busy. So one-on-one mentorship doesn't scale. But when they're doing 2 to 3 hours a month for 12 to 18 people with an open door policy, which was very important to them, they're really doing, what kind of filled their boat up. And my soul came alive. I did not know that I was kind of in talent development, learning and development, because my background was IT and supply chain. And I'm like, I was doing career coaching. I was doing executive coaching. I'm like, maybe I need to do this, And so
Great.
that was the kind of the seed of the idea. And I left a 35-year career in order to kind of make my dream come alive and to help people more full time because I was still doing IT work while I was doing all that. So
That's interesting. I love that you fell into talent development. That's what happened to me also. I fell into talent development. I had no idea that was going to be my passion. And this is years ago. Luckily, I didn't have to go the path, right away. They're like, would you like to go into HR or would you like to go into talent and development? And I'm like, I think I'm going to go this route. And a lot of people think that HR and talent development are the same, but they really do different things in organizations. So that's great. I love that story. And so do tell me about your business. When did you start your business? What's your business called?
Yeah. So I started my business after I moved from Washington State to Florida. I needed a little bit of sun, and my business is called the Sidell Method. And really, the focus of my business is, I mean, it is leadership and it is, executive coaching or business coaching. At the end of the day, though, what I really love to see is people getting their ahas, whether they know themselves better, whether they understand their strengths, or they see how they could, reframe a tough situation, or they just get this idea and they don't know how to sell it internally. I just published a multi-author book, and it's called The Influence Advantage. And so I'm a Cialdini certified influence coach. And it's all ethical. And I look back and I think about how I kept influencing. I didn't have to be a manager. I was influencing as an individual contributor. I was a manager like roughly half my career and an individual contributor half. But we're always working in teams and influencing people.
Right,
And so
right.
that's kind of like seeing how I can, teach, mini teaching 2.5 minutes, and then, okay, let's get into the juicy application, and to see their eyes light up. I mean, that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing.
Do you have a copy of your book that you can show me?
I do not,
Ah,
unfortunately. Sorry,
it's
but it's
okay.
on Amazon.
If you put it in the chat, then I can look it up and then I can post a picture of it for you when I put the little pictures and stuff into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's exciting. How did you get into co-authoring? How did that come about?
Well, I had a very impactful mentor. I don't know if you've ever heard of the John Maxwell team.
You did share that at one of our Manifesting with Masterminds. Yes, you did.
So um, I ended up having Paul Martinelli, who was John Maxwell's business partner, to set up the John Maxwell team as my personal mentor and coach for the last 3 years. And I had to kind of borrow his belief in me, that's what mentors do, really.
They do.
They let their mentees borrow the belief. And I was like, yes, I can be an entrepreneur and do Ellin 3.0. I kind of laugh, Ellin 1.0 was supply chain, 2.0 was IT, and now, what I'm doing now. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I start and stuff? And so he was very instrumental in, giving me the confidence, which I had it all myself. And that's what I want to do with other people. It's sort of uncovering, they say in NLP, doubt your doubts.
Yes.
It's doubt your doubts. Like if you have, well, everybody's got doubts, but if you doubt your doubts, then you might still be moving forward.
Right,
And one
right.
of the other things that I got a certification in is tiny habits. So I have two behavioral science certifications. The Dr. Cialdini Institute, which is
Uh-huh.
why I mentioned Paul. He got me in on to be his salesperson, on a team when that whole Cialdini Institute got formed. And I just fell in love with all of the amazing, fact that it's science-based and evidence-based, and that people are using the 7 influence principles, mostly for marketing and sales. They're not using it in leadership. It's completely applicable.
Oh, that's
It,
interesting. I just got certified myself in NLP, root cause coaching, and quantum release. So
yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's very
So
applicable.
NLP's, absolutely. NLP is but in this case, the Cialdini influence, and I became a certified Cialdini coach, and I'm like, this is crazy. And so a friend of mine and 5 other people were coaches, and they decided to write a different chapter. And I looked back in my career and went, oh my God, I learned all this the hard way. Through trial and error. And what I didn't know was Dr. Cialdini's book, best-selling book for 40 years, was out the entire time I was doing all this. Now, even
Oh,
if I
that's
had read his
great.
book, it's one thing to read the book and another to have a coach coming along with you saying, oh, well, here's, a practical application. So I rethought my career and thought, wow, these are all the principles I was using. And so the book is about the practical application, ethical application. And each of us uh, authors have a different business and a different kind of lens that they look at it. And so it's been really, really rewarding. And I've loved getting to know all the people. They're amazing.
I think that's the most important thing I've learned from leaving corporate America, that our circles tend to be pretty small. Even no matter if there's 100,000 people in the organization that you work with in, right? Myself coming from Xerox, there's 110,000 people. And you think you know a lot of people, but then you really are just working in the same organization. And now, I mean, you know, having met you and other entrepreneurs last year, and, you know, now starting a podcast, and then I was on your podcast, and then the people that you meet, I think that's just been the most rewarding, really the most rewarding aspect I've come along across. Because I thought I had bigger circles, but actually I just had one little baby circle of friends. Or even colleagues, people that I can talk to, brainstorm with, right? You and I can break, like, hey, Ellen, I have an idea. You have an idea. What do you think? I mean, they're meeting you where you're at, or different levels, but really meeting you where you're at. I think
Yeah,
that's
no,
really rewarding.
I agree. And that to a certain extent is what the mentee ring was all about was, it was kind of a reverse training or reverse mentoring, if you will,
Mhm.
because the mentees picked out what transferable skills, and I'm a kind of old school, soft skills, um, that they wanted to build together that they felt was important for their own career. And then what's the best way to learn something? Teach it.
Teach it.
And so, and then they would like teach it, 20 minutes. But and as the kind of choreographer of the rings, I'd be like, don't forget to ask your mentors, do they have any relevant stories? Like, how did they learn executive presence or conflict management or whatever it is,
Right.
And then they get these rich nuggets from these executive mentors, and then they're out there kind of helping each other, right? Really, it wasn't like I used to tell them they were building the career ladder together, but it was really more like a scaffolding, right? Because
Right.
one person's career ladder for them is this way, but another person, everybody had different goals,
Right.
So it was
That's a
together they
really
were
good way
building
to
it.
look at it. Yeah. That is really good. All right. Well, I just have a few minutes left. If there was one little nugget of advice, what would you leave us with today?
Well, my biggest nugget of advice is something I've been leaning into, and a fellow person that we met at that business development course, and that is leaning into your strengths. And right now, I'm a certified core clarity facilitator of workshops. And what they do is they work using the Gallup Clifton Strengths.
Mhm.
They take that information and they put it into their database, and they put together kind of they call it a core drill. But
Yep.
the way to look at those unique top 5 talents so that we can get stronger with our strengths.
I love that. I'm actually certified in core strengths, find your core
Oh,
strength, which is part of a kind of a shoot of core clarity. So yes, I did have
oh.
that conversation with that mutual friend of ours.
And I'm like on fire with this because at the end of the day, we want to stand out. We want to be more visible. And kind of when I was earlier in my career, I'm a baby boomer, I'll out myself. In those days, management was much more, you have to shore up your, areas of weakness.
Weakness, right?
But and that's fine if there's like a really glaring thing, sure. But when you think about leverage, and my whole story here, even the mentee rings about leverage, when you work on your strengths, it's like a lever, right? And the fulcrum, and you put 10 pounds of foot pressure, you lift 100. You're 10x better. So like, let's lean into what we're naturally talented at, what we've learned from a knowledge base, our skills and our reps, like weightlifting, and we've got the strengths, and then we work together as teams where each of us are working in our strengths. So that would be my most important advice to start. There's way more that I could tell you about, but that to me, it's all about knowing ourselves.
Yep. Tapping into ourselves, right? Well, again,
Exactly.
Ellen, I'd really appreciate you coming on Her-Tastic journey. Once again, it's the Sidell method, right? Sidell method, the Sidell method,
The Sidell method. Yeah.
Sidell method. And I will have your information available if people want to get a hold of you. Do you have a website? And I will also put your book, a picture of your book out there for people. Again, I'd like to thank you very much. Another humble thank you to Ellin Sidell for coming on to Her-Tastic journey. I appreciate you.